Well, I went and saw it, and one, I wanted to say this because I think it's interesting. It's the first live action remake of an animated film where the live action budget is somehow less than the animated budget. The first How to Train Your Dragon animation, which came out in 2010, cost 165 million. This one only costs 150, which is kind of wild to think about. But I will say the animation in How to Train Your Dragon, especially when it came out in 2010, was really, really good. So maybe that's one of the reasons it was so damn expensive. When it comes to the box office, it's kicking off to $8.6 million in previews, fairly high. When you factor in the fan screenings they did on Wednesday, I think that gets up to $10.5 or $11 million. Initially, I think the box office projections were like 65 to 75 million. I think it's going to crush that. I think we're probably looking at more like an 85 or $90 million opening weekend for this movie. Maybe a little over $100 million overseas because I think it's been out for a few more days in some places. But look, I went and saw the movie. To me, this is pretty much exactly, with like one or two little things, pretty much exactly what the live action remakes should be if you're going to do them. It was basically beat for beat, shot for shot, line for line, the animated movie with a couple extended sequences, with a couple extended scenes. And I think it was the exact right thing to do to make the dragons look exactly like they did in the animated, instead of going for a little bit more realistic looking type of design. Like if you wanted to turn them into maybe more like Game of Thrones dragons look. No, it was the right thing to do to keep them that design, to have that emotion from Toothless, to have those facial expressions. It's I can't say that, well, it's just as good as the live action, or sorry, it's just as good as the animation. I can't say that because we talk a lot about how the animals and stuff, when they do these live actions, they don't have the same emotion. You can say the same thing about the way that people are able to emote a little bit. So I don't think, maybe it wasn't quite as impactful, but to me, it's really fucking good. It is essentially beat for beat what the animation is. I will say, I do think one thing is done better in this movie than in the animated, and that's Stoic. I think Gerard Butler as Stoic, who voiced the character in animation and then played him in the live action. You get a couple, just few small extended sequences with him, and that is about the only thing I could say, well, this did it better than that. I think the extended scenes really helped Stoic even more. He was already awesome, but you just get a little bit more from some of those sequences. Astrid is exactly the way that she is in the animation. I saw some, if you haven't watched the animation, you go watch this one. The first hour of the movie, you're going to come away and you'll be like, wow, Astrid is such a girl boss. Wow, Astrid's good at everything. She is in the movie too, like the original one. And
she wants to be, I mean, not spoilers, but she wants to win the competition. Like she thinks she's the best in the competition, and it frustrates her, you know, why this other guy knows how to train dragons and soothe them than the actual brute strength. So,
but everyone looks at her as the best, and she is the best in terms of fighting dragons. It just turns out that her entire perspective, and really the entire clan's perspective on dragons, is completely wrong, and Hiccup finds the reality.
Yeah.
And he's eventually able to win everybody over to his side of things and realize that they've been doing things wrong the entire time, and which is exactly how it plays out in this.
How is oh my gosh, what are the twins' names? Rough Nut,
and Tough Nut.
Tough Nut, yeah. Same.
They're the same in terms of like they're both fucking dumb and they're constantly fighting and shit. Snotlout, actually, I will say this, Snotlout was probably done with the extended sequences. They were able to work in a little bit with like his dad and stuff like this. I think maybe he gets a little bit of a benefit from this live action as well. The only thing in there that is different, like truly different, I suppose, is the explanation for why there happens to be a couple Black Vikings hanging around, which essentially is that, hey, a lot of different people have come to Berk, like from different places around the world to fight the dragons and shit. There's like one or two throwaway lines towards the beginning when they're talking about all these clans coming together and rallying under Stoic at Berk, which is your explanation for a random Black Viking hero there. Other than that, Astrid, yeah, the first half of the movie, you kind of hate her because she's a girl boss. She's good at everything. She hates Hiccup. And then she changes her tune and comes around to Hiccup's side of things, and eventually is the one who's talking him up and is eventually the one who's telling people to trust him, which is exactly the way it's done in the movie. Overall, it's the best live action remake I've ever seen because it stays true, shot for shot, beat for beat, basically, to what the animated one was. And it's an awesome movie to go see on Father's Day, by the way. I think it was a perfect idea for them to release it on Father's Day weekend. There's a really good father-son story in there, especially rewarding at the end.
I mean, that's what I always thought the live action remakes would be. But when you go off the script, you end up with headlines like this. Snow White becomes Disney's worst performing live action remake in nearly 10 years. They're still talking about how bad this movie performed in the media. That's pretty crazy. I mean, you stick with imagine that. Sticking with the source material actually puts together a great film. Imagine that, instead of adding your own little, we're going to make our own little tweaks and modern audience it and politicize, correct it, and tell a story that the modern audience needs to hear, in today's troubled times. That's what we want. We want to inject that in all our live action stuff. People will love it. They don't care. They don't even want to see it. So that's pretty good.
I even got a popcorn bucket.
Hey, look at that. Little dragon inside. Little toothless.
He's not part of it. He's just.
So they just sold the regular tins, huh?
I'm sure it depends where you go. This was an AMC theater, so this is what I got.
Okay.
I could shove Toothless in the Dune popcorn bucket. And do that thing face first.
Make it look like he's being eaten. That's pretty good.
He's got like magnetic wings too. Like I think you can stick him to shit. You see that?
Oh, all right.
Look at that. He's flying. So
definitely.
But, yeah.
I'm glad it was good. Pretty sure this will do some numbers in the box office?
I think it's going to do really well, and I think it's going to be received really well. The only thing is, like, again, you could say the same thing about any of these live actions, but the ones that come out, they always feel the desire to significantly change things.
Yes.
And this, in terms of the actual story itself and all the characters and their motivations and things, it is the story from animation onto screen, period, bottom line. And I think that's why it works. Is it like, oh, I'd rather watch this? Probably not. But there are some people that just don't want to watch animated movies. There are some people that want to watch live action movies, and kind of opens up to a different audience. And I think it's going to do really well. I ain't saying there's $1 billion.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the numbers are after this opening weekend. It's already beating all of the other ones that came out in terms of the animated ones in their opening weekends. But I wouldn't be shocked if this thing makes $750, $800 million. So
you don't think it's going to touch Lilo and Stitch then?
No. I don't think so. Like that was massive. I don't think it's going to do numbers like that.
It will be, as far as the theme parks are concerned, that new Isle of Berk there, if it brings in a new fan base, that'll definitely push families to go and check that out as well. Because that is a great experience at a theme park, the Isle of Berk at Epic Universe.
And pretty Astrid good. Actually looks like Astrid there.
Yeah.
She's blonde.
Yeah. The Toothless meet and greet has every time I've been there, it's been like hour, 2 hour wait just to meet Toothless. It doesn't stop. It's there like it runs all day, swapping out the different actors. So
to me, the highlights are 100% Toothless, and I think Stoic is a big standout. Hiccup is great too, and I think that's a tough. I feel like Hiccup is a tough character to. I thought it would be a tough character to get right in live action, and Jay Baruchel voicing him obviously is the exact opposite of what everyone thinks of as your traditional hero, which is one of the reasons this movie works so great, right? Nobody looks at Hiccup like a Viking. Nobody looks at him like a hero. Nobody looks at him as anything because he doesn't do anything the way that they feel like he should be doing it. But it turns out he finds the right way to do it, and is able to do things that nobody else ever could have dreamed of because of that.
Does he kind of talk like the animated guy who voiced him? Does he try to get that little lisp thing going, or whatever you want to call it?
It's not a lisp. It's like he kind of talks like this a little bit. All right, bud. It is maybe a little nasally, like, all right, here I am. We're Vikings. I'm supposed to do Viking things. I feel like
it's very unique.
It's super unique. And that was one of the things I was already. He doesn't try to do like an imitation or anything, but I do think he does a good job portraying Hiccup, like in terms of what the character is. Yeah. So I think it's going to do good. To me, if you're going to do these live action remakes, which there's some people that don't think they should be done, period, ever, and that's fine. If they're going to be done, with the exception of one or two nitpicks, like making Astrid actually look like Astrid, and to me, that kind of the pointless, probably just to get the check mark to put it out in Hollywood with live action. Hey, by the way, this random thing is why we got a couple black background actors. With those exceptions, it is the movie. It doesn't do anything to hurt anyone's character. There's a handful of characters who I do think are enhanced slightly in the live action with a little more time. Like I said, Stoic and Snotlout, I think they are enhanced slightly, and they hit all the exact same story beats. It's the same fucking music. It's the same cinematic shots.
Dun, 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 dun. That's good.
And the one of the best additions was right at the end when they're off facing the big threat. I guess whatever. After Stoic goes down there and saves Toothless, and when Hiccup gets on top of Toothless and is about to go fight, and Stoic has his little like back and forth with him, that sequence was slightly extended and had a little more dialogue. And I think what they added was it was exactly in the same framework as the original sequence, but I do think the extra 2 or 3 lines, the extra 15 or 20 seconds adds even more emotion to that moment, which is really good.
That's good to hear. Ryan likes something, everybody. Get ready.
I like it. Yeah, it's good.